Hey everybody, welcome to Veterans Let Rock. I am Zach Rabbit, United States Air Force veteran and guitar shredding machine for the Spires of HBG. And with me as always, my wonderful co-host.
Hey, what's up? I am Sailor Scott, a Navy veteran and bass player for a couple bands here in New York City, the Silver Dollar Generals and Mag Electric. And today is a very special episode we have for Veterans at Rock. We're featuring this guy. You might have heard of him. He played in a couple bands that were pretty popular called Nirvana and Soundgarden. And who is this guy, Zach?
That's right. Today we are going to be talking about U.S. Army for... Damn, fucking... Three. You know, the best part about this is we ain't paying for a soundstage.
Exactly.
All right, 3, 2...
Yes, we are Veterans at Rock. We feature artists who are known and unknown that are artists and veterans that could be musicians, actors, photographers, you name it, writers. We feature all types of artists, and today we're talking about a very special artist. Who is he, Zach?
That's right, Sailor Scott. It's really exciting. We are talking about U.S. Army veteran and Sergeant First Class Special Operator Jason Everman.
Yeah, Jason Everman, I can't believe he was in Nirvana first and then Soundgarden and then enlisted into the United States Army and went to Ranger School. One of my buddies told me about, that we should feature him because, he heard of our podcast. And once I started looking into this guy, I was like completely mesmerized.
Really quick, just out of curiosity, your buddy, was he a veteran too?
No, he's not a veteran, but he, his father was a veteran and he has lineage. He's just like a fan, I guess, of, people who are veterans like you and me, Zach.
Just curious. No, yeah, I was just wondering. It's interesting that, that he knew that, I guess, I'm always shocked on this channel, people we find out who are veterans that I just wouldn't expect. And, it's a good one. He was in two of the, most popular bands of all time, at least of current time.
Yeah, Jason Everman, he grew up, I think he was born in Alaska. His birth certificate says Kodiak, he says, but he's pretty sure it was Ozwinki. If I'm pronouncing that right.
I have to say, so when I was in the Air Force, I was a munitions troop for anyone just starting to watch the channel. One of the big bases I hear a lot about, or would hear about in that line of work, was the Alaskan bases. The ones in Anchorage and I think it's near Juneau. But pardon me, I didn't go there, but I did go to South Korea, and I swore I was going to end up having to go to Alaska. I really did. I did have some friends that got orders to go there while I was in Korea, and they had nothing but nice things to say about it, but I do think they've since moved. But I saw in the outline for this that he had a pet ocelot.
Yeah. And we'll put what a ocelot is right here. Yeah, pretty wild.
It's a literal cat. It's a wild cat. Like in Pennsylvania, we call them nittany lions. This thing is anyway. It's just kind of like I had a friend from Portland. I feel like Portland, Washington, Alaska. I guess they just seem like interesting places to be.
Yeah, we need to look this up because they look, they look like they could pretty much tear your hand off if you were playing with it or didn't know it well enough. Really cool. Yeah, so he was born in Alaska and then he raised in Poulsbo, Washington, dealing with maybe a difficult childhood. I could relate to that. Having a rebellious streak, he picked up a guitar. Which became, very therapeutic, which, Zach, you and I know about that. And, growing up in the outdoors, there's a talk where I believe he's talking with, I'll play it right here.
And then growing up in the woods in Western Washington, like I was expected, I was kicked outside after breakfast and not expected to be seen again until dinner time. And what I did between then was like on me. And so I'd go out and do stupid stuff like climb high tension power lines, to the top. Like get like 5, 6 years old. Like so stupid, right? But it was like, oh, this is cool. You know,
Yeah, I mean, we had like we had these sumps around where I grew up, and we would just do really dumb shit as well, like make chlorine bombs, and like those are really dangerous. And we're like 12 years old. Did you have like outdoor stuff, Zach?
Yeah, I definitely have experience in the old, come home after the streetlights turn on, and my share of youthful hijinks. Uh, in my house, like they actually did recording. There was a downstairs studio, so I was kind of expected to do the same thing. Like get out, I got and get out until at least like 6 or 7.
Yeah, having a lot of like outdoor experience and finding a guitar at a young age, to deal with, that young teenage angst is like a key factor. Um,
I wasn't climbing like high power tension lines. I wasn't doing that. Lighting fires, throwing batteries into like fire, lighting our friends on fire,
yeah,
skateboarding on fire. A lot of fire looking back.
there was a lot of fire looking back for sure. Yeah. Once you find out how to use a matchbook, you're like, oh man, this is really cool. It's like a Beavis and Butthead episode.
Yeah, one of the things I found really interesting looking into Jason Everman, he was raised by his mother. His parents did divorce. His mother struggled with addiction and depression. So that kind of was one of the reasons why he was acting the way he was. Also something I can kind of understand. After a series of these rebellious acts, his grandmother decided to put Jason into therapy, actually. And he picked up an acoustic guitar while sitting in the office, and that started to become a creative outlet. It's funny how it always ends up that way when you pick up some form of instrument, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, my mother, tried putting me into therapy at a young age because of like their divorce. Yeah, and then eventually finding like drug addiction a little bit at a young age, and then finding the straight edge hardcore movement, where I've seen where and Jason's talking about finding his love for like punk rock and all of the ethos of what punk rock brings is like independent thinking and you know screw the man. You find out how actually corporations work, and it's kind of disheartening.
Something something that's really become interesting to me, just kind of looking back into that time, seeing as I was born in 1992, graduated high school in 2010. Jason Everman, like he was 17 in 1984, so it's like a lot of culture was created by punk rock in that time. The stuff from like the 70s, kind of going into like when Joey was on the show, and he was kind of giving us a little bit of a look into that world that he was involved in on the New York side. But it's very interesting that all of this punk cultural stew is happening, and he is at the epicenter in Washington as a teenager. What a time to be. I can't even imagine what that would look like from your perspective, seeing as you were there for a lot of that as well.
I mean, Jason's like 10 years older than I am, and I wish I was his age because like I could have witnessed the whole entire New York hardcore scene, like from really cool bands like Youth of Today and Agnostic Front back in the day. But he, like, if for anybody out there who doesn't understand what Seattle was like during that time, watch the movie Singles, and I'm sure Jason's seen like some of the coolest bands. Like, I'm sure he's seen like all those older bands like Mother Love Bone and Green River was like one of the first bands out of there, I think. Yeah, and he ended up like just jamming and joining Nirvana before they were anywhere near famous. Um, I do have a talk about that, Zach. I don't know if I should pull it up.
Please. I think that's good segue.
Let's see.
So, I guess being a professional rock musician was something I kind of fell into. It wasn't something that I like had a dream of. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be. I love playing in bands. I love playing music, but it was like at this punk rock level where you're never gonna make a living at it. It's just something fun to do. And then started playing with Nirvana, and even at that level, still not making money from it, but touring.
Was it the early days of Nirvana?
Yeah.
So Nirvana wasn't worldwide
No,
at that point?
No. They were even on the Seattle level, like one of the smaller bands, like there's bands like Mudhoney and Soundgarden that were better known than Nirvana was at the time.
And you played for Soundgarden too, which is also hilarious.
Yeah.
And when did you so you're in the beginning, so did you have friction with the band? Like, why did you wind up leaving?
So with Nirvana, it was just I guess initially, like,
I mean, this interview is so good, man. It's like we have to just take little clips from it. I think he talks about a lot of the stuff, and it's like not really a big fan of Joe Brogan.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see that was where the longest interview was.
But that was like 3 years ago. Joe Rogan was like still like, not really a sellout yet.
So Jason would spend some of the summers with his father out in Alaska, and on one of the final ones of his teenagerdom, he went back to Seattle, and that's kind of when the fun started. He started playing with his own band out there, jumping headfirst into the scene. A lot of people don't know this, but Kurt Cobain was actually kind of like, a t-shirt salesman for the Melvins. Everybody's kind of in this pool, and honestly, like, Jason is definitely somebody that's going to stick out to someone like Kurt Cobain. I mean, just from what we've talked about, he's definitely fluid in the punk rock scene inside and out. And in 1989 is Jason's first claim to fame, where he famously spent $600 on Nirvana's debut album, Bleach.
Yeah, really. I mean, and we were looking it up, and I don't think that he's got that money recovered yet.
I did see that he did receive a formal reimbursement for the $600 he loaned the band, but he doesn't receive any royalties. But at the time, what was really amazing was that Kurt Cobain saw Jason as such an important part of the band. He put him on the cover and in a pretty prominent position. I actually thought that Jason was Kurt on the cover, so that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's really funny. That's like, I mean, I guess it was a nice thing to do.
Especially because he didn't play on any of the tracks either. Like, he was touring with the band, but like pretty much right before they broke out, he moved on amicably too. Like, he just was ready for the next thing.
Yeah, and I believe during this time, Hiro Yamamoto, who was the bass player for Soundgarden, had left, and I guess he was approached to audition for Soundgarden, and Soundgarden being one of his favorite bands, he of course just nailed the audition and joined immediately after. He does appear on Soundgarden's Louder Than Live home video. Everman left immediately after Soundgarden completed its promotional tour for Louder Than Love in mid-1990 to play bass for Old Lady Drivers, at which time Soundgarden found Yamamoto's ultimate successor, bassist Ben Shepherd. And here I have a really cool clip of like an old MTV backstage interview with, I think it's not I forgot the name of this VJ. I guess.
The Seattle band Soundgarden not only has a new album out called Louder Than Love, but they also have a new bass player, Jason Everman. Last Friday at the Concrete Metal Convention, Jason made his live debut at LA's Club with No Name. And we asked lead singer Chris Cornell how the band hooked up with Jason.
Well, he was in this band, Nirvana.
Buy their record.
They're an amazing Seattle band, and we were huge fans of theirs. And simultaneously, at the time that our bass player quit, he left Nirvana, so we asked him if he wanted to check it out. He was already a big fan. He learned all of our recorded songs in a few weeks, and when we chose him, all we had to do was just go play. It was really easy.
Soundgarden's first video should be out soon. It's for the song Loud Love.
Sweet. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, yeah. I mean, fuck. I mean, rest in peace, man. Chris Cornell, man. He was such a influence to so many people. Like, there was a bar. There was a bar over here in Williamsburg called the Tainted Lady, and Chris Cornell's brother, I think, owned it or ran it, and I'd go there a lot for brunch and just get fucked up. And like, I remember seeing him, like, this guy looks exactly like Chris Cornell. I was like, holy shit. Hopefully he's still around, and I'm not sure. I haven't heard of him. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a great story.
It was
Yeah,
funny.
I know you see all kinds where you're from, but that's that's cool.
Yeah.
So that was his 1989. Finishing off with Nirvana, going into Soundgarden, but then moving on to other things. He was in a funkish band from like 1990 to 1994, and then in 1994, after reading the Renaissance icon Benvenuto Cellini, who stated that a well-rounded man is an artist, warrior, and philosopher, he left Mindfunk to enlist in the United States Army.
Yeah, I feel like Chris Christopherson, one of our featured guests, or not guests, featured veterans guests.
See the video here.
Yeah, he, I think, was definitely along the lines of like these kind of philosophical influences of being an artist, a warrior, you know, being able to swing a hammer, like be a multifaceted, you know, well-rounded individual. Yeah, so he joins in 1994. You know, he serving the Army's 2nd Ranger Battalion, Delta Company. You know, and later with the Special Forces, serving 2 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Scoot. All right, I'm gonna come in here because when we made this video, I saw the most interesting thing to me ever, and that is Sergeant First Class. I never saw that in my life. As a munitions troop in the United States Air Force, I was lucky enough to work with a couple of SEAL teams while I was deployed. And even there, I mean, like, you know, you'd hear certain... But anywho, blew my mind that this rank was, A, something I never heard of, which I know Army ranks can get kind of funny. I mean, you got your sergeant, which is... then a staff sergeant, like, you know, in the Air Force we have staff sergeant. Yeah, it's like quick, easy, done. You know what I mean? Anywho, yeah, like he was an E7, which for my group, or for the Air Force, would be a master sergeant or 6 stripes. I'm not sure what's the Navy's version of that, Sailor Scott.
E7 is chief. You know, E4, E5, and E6 are called petty officers, which is kind of petty.
If we have any special operators out there that want to explain to me how that works and why, like, I should really, like, research better on Army ranks, please go ahead. But I am just the bastard child of your division, so please be nice.
Please be nice. Yeah. I mean, Jason Everman's change in trajectory, you know, really astounding. He said after completing his service, he took a break from the military and lived in New York.
After completing his service, serving 2 tours in Afghanistan during the height of the Gulf War.
Yeah. You know, eventually moved here to New York. He briefly worked as a bike messenger, which is really cool. Like, this, you know, this guy is like, he just wants to be in full adventure. Like, I tried out to be a bike messenger. Like, this is like maybe had like a small Nokia phone. You had no smartphone. Like, you had to pass a test. You had to like, write down and ride to like, I think the office was somewhere in the 30s. You had to like go downtown to World Trade. It was like a scavenger hunt. You had to do this to pass like the messenger test to become a messenger. And I failed because I was only in the city for 2 weeks. Had I tried in 6 months, I probably would have gotten it. So he worked as a bike messenger. Then he traveled to Tibet, worked and studied in a Buddhist monastery before returning to the U.S. He re-entered the army when offered the chance to join Special Forces.
Just like Sailor Scott was saying, Jason definitely has a thirst for adventure. And what I think is kind of interesting about him is he sort of reminds me of the main character of It's a Wonderful Life, Mr. George Bailey. Because George Bailey always wanted to be an adventurer, but something just kind of kept coming up in his life where he didn't get that opportunity. Well, like you just said, Sailor Scott, Jason always wanted to go on a backpacking trip where he eventually got to go. So after all of that, crazy explosive adventuring, founding two of the most iconic bands of modern times, serving the country honorably in one of the hardest forces to enter, very prestigious units that are very focused on what they're going to need from their individuals, to then be humble enough to come back to the United States after leaving, being a bike messenger, and then going to Tibet, studying under Buddhist monks, coming back to the United States, and then rejoining the army when asked. Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, whoa. You mentioned the episode with Chris Christopherson. I mean, I know he landed a helicopter on Johnny Cash's land to give him a song or whatever, but I don't know. Everman's pretty damn close to being the best badass on this show. And then he's got, I don't know if we can flash it on the screen, but here's all the awards he got. This one with the gun, that's the Rifleman's badge. If you ever saw Band of Brothers, that's a pretty important one. He's got Meritorious Service, Global War, GWAT, for all those that, know. I mean, the man's got a rack.
He definitely has a rack. Let me look.
He hung out there too.
Yeah.
And what I found with challenge leads to achievement, and achievement leads to joy. That's kind of the formula. It seems really obvious, but it took me a long time to figure it out. So, and joy might not even be the appropriate word, but just kind of this life satisfaction. Another thing I got out of the military was human relationships. The deepest, most meaningful human relationships I ever, to this day, still have were men I served with in the military. Guys that I called brother, and not in a glib or ironic way, like, I'm in it, they're my brothers. And I said it without even thinking about it. I never, as much as I like these guys and still are friends with a lot of them today, guys I played music with, I never called them brother, because I didn't feel that way. The military set me up for things I did post-military. One thing is like going to Columbia University. Like, without my military experience and the things I achieved there, it would have never have occurred to me to apply to Columbia. It would have been absurd. No, that's not going to happen. So basically, by turning my back on this world of cool, and that's an aesthetic judgment, but it was important to me at the time, or at least I thought it was, basically kind of sloughed off these shackles of cool, instantly felt this weight lifted off my shoulder, that malaise I talked about, and I felt free. And then I was in basic training for 3 months after that. So I'd like to say, just to wrap this up, punk rock...
All right, I can stop that there. Yeah, so, going just off of what, Jason Everman just told us, like, having served in the military, he is really into, like, there is no experience that you can really mimic to have that, like, camaraderie of, like, your brother or sister has to have your back, like, no matter what. So, like, just having that and like having had achieved things in the military, like for instance, like my father didn't really he had to leave the Navy because his father died, but like me having to achieve it, even though I was just in for my 4-year term, but leaving honorably is like a big feat and definitely helped me to like pursue college just like Jason did. I'm sure he was in like a master or doctorate program because he's a smart dude. But yeah, just like being able to fulfill ambitious dreams like Zach and I have is pretty amazing.
It's also just so amazing, again, how level-headed he really is with everything that he does, even so much that he was willing to do these interviews and really be like, poignant and sincere. He's just a very sincere human being, and I find that very interesting. And he's also one of the few, guests that we've, talked about on the program that really seems to, have his ducks in a row and appreciates what he gave to the service. He also is probably one of the oldest members that we have, joined later in life, so it's more of a decision, which I find interesting as well in his psyche post-military. In 2013, the New York Times actually published a portrait article about Jason Everman, written by guitarist and writer Clay Tarver. And it featured interviews with Everman, his family, former band members and colleagues and music industry people. It actually mentions in that article that Everman was invited to Nirvana's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that's really cool too. Something you don't see a lot of is that recognition from the past and it being positive. So you can tell that everything he does in his life, he leaves in a very positive manner too, which is so cool. The old military adage, leave it better than you found it. He is a very obvious, participant in that. And, he does charity for military still as well too, just as a lot of the other vets that we've talked about. Check out those episodes in the, old archive or whatever. But, I did a project in 2017 called Silence and Light. I don't know if Sailor Scott has any more information on it.
Yeah, this was definitely off my radar. Everman met fellow veteran Brad Thomas in New York, and the two decided to start a band named Silence and Light. By July, the band had a complete lineup consisting of military veterans, which, I wish I was part of this. Playing with Jason Everman, they began recording an album in January 2019 in Van Nuys, California. The band released a complete album in December 2019. The band's profits are dedicated to helping members of the special operations community, the military, and first responders. The band said that they consider their genre to be modern rock. And real quick, I have a really cool interview of like all of Soundgarden with Jason Everman when they're being... Yeah, so this is a quick interview of them asking, how do they feel about being nominated for a Grammy?
How do you guys feel about being nominated for a Grammy?
It's really one of those things where you got to pinch yourself, just to make sure that you're not dreaming.
To make sure that someone you care about is actually waking you up and wasting your time to let you know this.
I'm gonna just go ahead and pinch him right now.
I think we pinch him right here.
Oh, there's a lot of skin. I think there's some skin right there. Anyway, it's wonderful. It's really wonderful.
It's
We're all
swell.
ecstatic.
Actually, I really don't care too much about it. It'd be really nice if...
Well, bring us down.
Okay, it's great. It's fantastic.
What do you think of the other bands that you're up against?
I wish they had nominated us for something. I think a lot of them they represent a jury of our peers a little bit more. We're very happy for Metallica. Good thing Jeff Hotel's not in the running this year. And we're very happy for Faith No More and Queensryche.
Queensryche's from Seattle.
We hope any one of those bands would deserve it, I'm sure.
What do you think about the category being, you're under heavy metal? Do you guys consider yourself a heavy metal band?
Well, the Grammys do. So
Yeah.
Maybe heavy.
Yeah, that's what counts.
Not necessarily metal.
What the Grammys really think is what what counts. I guess we're heavy metal. Guys, we're heavy metal. Yeah,
It's official. We're heavy metal.
okay, it's official.
Okay, and one other thing I just wanted to talk about your.
That's so punk rock. I mean, you can't beat that shit.
So there it is, everybody. Jason Everman, Sergeant First Class, U.S. Army veteran, rock star, philanthropist, military contractor, doing it all, and he still found time to be a Buddhist monk.
Yes. And yeah, if you like what you see, please subscribe. Our Instagram handles are below. If you want to follow us on social media, please give us some comments. We love to hear from you guys out there. And, our plan, I guess, is also to reach out to Jason Everman and see if he'll be on our show. What do you think?
I think that would be awesome if you guys want to go ahead and just at him down in the comments, or try and get this video to him somehow so we can start doing that stuff. But seriously, thank you so very much for being part of the Veterans That Rock program. If you know any actors, musicians, artists, writers, molders, or sculptors, please send them our way. This is our community. We want to shine a light on those that are doing art post-military service. Thank you so much for watching. Who are we going to be doing next, Sailor Scott?
Yeah, so next month I am pleased to announce we are having another live guest. He's a buddy of mine I met him when I was in the Navy, and he was like a local musician in like Virginia Beach area. And later on in his life, he still played pretty heavy, awesome music, and he later on enlisted in the U.S. Navy. So we're going to have my friend Ian Pathfinder on for June. So stay tuned.